the being grounded forever. So hi. So I don't hear you guys there though. So it looks like I'm just gonna have to grow my hair long because I don't think I'm
Yeah,
ever gonna be able to go to the barber again.
I got mine cut last Friday before everything went to hell.
Yeah, Mark wisely did his the last moment too. That was Mark. Like I'm being grounded for life. I was talking to my sister about that today. How are you doing? I feel like I've been grounded for life. She says, just 12 to 18 months. You're so dramatic.
It's your time to get all those household projects that you wanted to get done and you never had time to do.
Well, we have made the kitchen usable and, been cooking twice a day.
Hi, Alicia. Can you hear us?
This damn Chinese virus. I can't believe he's doing that, man. He's trying to fucking start a war.
I know, he's an idiot.
And it's just so stupid. It's like if there's one country that we are gonna need the help of, they can make these fucking masks. They have a lot of people with platelets that maybe we need, maybe we're gonna need that.
Hey, David. Hey,
Hi,
Michael.
hear ya.
Can you guys hear me?
We
Yeah.
do.
Okay. Here we go, stepping into 21st century here.
I don't know how hand raising works in these meetings.
Oh, so Clint is going to be in charge of the hand raising for responses and stuff like that. And no, I'm just, because David just made a comment. He's just talking.
There's a chat component where someone, you can stick off to the side. Anyway.
Yeah, Quinn's here and is going to handle all of that.
So we'll get some feedback.
That's Susan's computer.
Get some feedback.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think if people will bear with us.
Boy, that feedback is terrible. That feedback makes it unusable.
Give us a minute, please.
Okay.
Hi, Clint.
The feedback is terrible.
Okay.
It goes into
Susan, can you mute yours?
What?
Hold on one second.
You want me to go over here?
Hold on. I'm going to do one thing.
I mean, no, it's not yours.
I need to do it from here.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's better.
That should be better.
Yeah. Where's Susan? Is she CP3M? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Sounds NYC is you?
No.
Who is Sounds NYC? Who's that? Oh, that's Megan. Megan is there.
How come my camera's not on? you, Michael, we have Megan, we have David.
Might be a private viewer, a member of the public. Sounds in my seat. It might be a member of the public. You- Okay, sure. We don't have quorum, but we could start. No. My notes.
If you want to go ahead and start, Alicia.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for logging in tonight on our executive meeting, Community Board 3. Can everyone hear me? Thumbs up, hands raised, or if you hear me? Okay, great, thank you. So we're gonna call meeting to order. First, I need an approval for the previous month's minutes. Someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last month's meeting?
Oh, so they're all muted.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Megan. Any second? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So first on our agenda, we're going to talk about. Okay, yeah. So Clint is going to explain how we're going to do this tonight.
Okay, so I'll give you a little brief tutorial on Zoom here tonight. You'll see everyone is currently muted. I think for these larger meetings, it's probably going to work best, at least to start with, that we mute everyone. If you go to, at the bottom of your screen, you should see some options. There's invite, manage participants, share screen, chat. If you click on the manage participant screen or option, you should get at the bottom, you should get a feature that allows you to raise your hand. Does everyone see that? So I think you don't see that, David. If you open the manage participants, does a screen pop up on the right-hand side? Yes, and at the very bottom of that, do you see the raise your hand option now? No.
He sees it. Oh, Megan sees it.
Let's see. Oh.
This is what they have.
Yeah.
So it does, it say, I had to open it.
Yeah. So it does, if you open it the whole way, does now everyone see raise hand at the bottom?
He says not at the very bottom. I see it in the middle. Linda says she sees it at the
Okay.
bottom.
So for now, I just unmuted everyone. You may hear a little bit of feedback from here in the office, but until we'll get through the basic instructions. Okay. So it is, if it's in the middle of your screen, that's fine too. Okay, we see there's feedback.
I can't figure out how to do, can you hear me? I can't figure out how to do the screen.
If in the bottom left of your screen, there should be a start video with a red line through it.
Oh, I see. I think. There you go.
I see you.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Okay,
can
now
see
you're good.
myself.
Okay, so
Thanks.
one quick question. Who is Sounds NYC?
Must be someone from the public.
David says he hears a feedback.
Yeah, we'll fix
How about
that.
how about iPhone?
We could mute.
Yeah, I'm going to mute everyone in just a second. I wanted to just give everyone a chance so we got everyone set up. Okay, so I muted everyone. That should have hopefully eliminated the feedback. Is that correct? Okay. So the other option at the bottom of the screen, there's manage participants. That's where it gives you the option to raise your hand. If you would like to say something, raise your hand. I'll mention to Alicia and we'll call on you, I guess, in order for now. There's also a chat option, which some of you have already picked up on and you're using. That is something that if everyone wants to keep that open in the right-hand side, we can kind of see messages at the, as we go through the meeting as well. And then we can unmute you if you want to raise your hand. There is another function at the bottom, at the far right of your options that says reactions. There's a plus, there's a thumbs up and a clap. Sometimes that might be helpful if we're just asking for, if everyone agrees, maybe just use a thumbs up. We don't have to get a audio feedback. And then I think that's probably a good general. Does anyone have any questions? Nope. Okay. I'm going to mute you all. Oh, go ahead.
She's
Lisa
muted.
has a question.
See the, whatever you called it, the one where you asked to be recognized?
Raise your hand.
Yeah, I don't see that on my screen.
Okay.
I just see mute, stop video, invite, share screen, reactions. Oh, maybe more. Participants chat.
Participants.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to mute everyone again, and Alicia's going to take over and begin the meeting. Okay, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you everyone for your patience as we are learning this as we go along. So the first thing up on our first item on the agenda tonight is a resolution for immediate support for New York City small businesses impacted by the coronavirus. And so you've gotten an email from the office, am I correct? Did everyone read the email from Susan with the resolution? You can nod your heads, I see you. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to share the screen and have it up on the screen?
The resolution? Yeah, okay, we could do that then. That'd be great.
Is it over here? I don't have it on my computer.
Okay, so if there's any members of the public that have not, well, you haven't gotten a chance to read this. This only went out to the executive officers of the community board, so I will read it, and you can read along as well, okay? So whereas New York City is facing health emergency unlike anything seen in over a century, whereas measures to slow and stop the spread of COVID-19, while essential and justified, have caused significant economic hardships. Whereas required aid and support programs for countless small merchants and their employees will be substantial. Whereas all levels of government must work collaboratively to provide needed economic relief in the immediate, near, and long terms. Therefore, be it resolved, Community Board 3 recommends the following actions to provide immediate relief for all restaurants, hotels, and small levels commercial establishments. Suspension of all fines and associated payments for a period of 6 months. Automatic non-fee renewal of all city and state operating permits and business filings for a period of 6 months. Suspension of state sales tax filing for a period of 3 months. Suspension of commercial rent taxes for a period of 3 months. Immediate expansion of no interest loan programs provided by the city. I think we need to correct that. Provided by the city, and an increase of the loan amount of $150,000. Further be it resolved, the Community Board 3 requests the city's Department of Finance analyze appropriate property tax relief measures for a period of 1 year that will allow small merchants to reduce rent and operating costs, while also allowing small property owners to stabilize their buildings' income streams. Further be it resolved, Community Board 3 requests the State Department of Financial Services ensure that businesses' interruptions related to public health emergency be considered a covered event for insurance purposes. Further be it resolved, Community Board 3 requests funding for economic and community development organizations be strengthened and maintained to assure support services for small merchants and continuation of community-based efforts that will provide for a sustained recovery. Okay, so now we can make amendments. I believe the floor is open to make an amendment.
So we'll leave that for-
Lisa raised her hand.
Okay. Megan.
And Lisa also, okay.
Go ahead, Megan.
I just wanted to make some small amendment, and that is a memo just came out from Corey Johnson increasing the request from City Council for the loans to be expanded to $250,000. So I think if that's what the council is asking for, we should be asking for the same. So if we could just change that 150 to 250.
Why is it not letting me? Why is it not letting me?
We'll try the number.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Megan. Lisa had her hand up too.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
I thought I was clapping. I thought it was great.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How do I get rid of that from my screen?
What?
This,
You get rid of it?
how do I get rid of it?
Okay, Michelle actually raised her hand as well. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually had a question, not an amendment yet. But is there a specific reason why it's only street level businesses? I know it includes hotels and other businesses, but I feel like there are a lot of other like nail salons or like hairstylists that aren't necessarily street level. Will that impact anything with that language?
Megan, do you have any input on that? Clint? Michelle asked the question.
Okay. And Megan? Okay.
Megan, what's your response? I can't hear her.
I think
Hold on, Megan.
she's actually,
Myself.
there you go.
Okay,
Can you hear me
yeah.
now?
Yeah.
So one other quick thing. If you mute yourself, I can't unmute you then.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay,
So I'm gonna try to be on top of it and keep everyone muted and unmuted. But if you go ahead and unmute yourself, I can't then unmute you. You'll have to do it yourself.
okay. Yeah, I'm happy to change that street level commercial establishment. Maybe it could be, you may recommend the following to provide immediately for all restaurants, hotels, and other, maybe, and all other commercial establishments affected by the COVID-19 crisis. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, okay, let me just find it. I'm sorry. Therefore be it resolved, CB3 recommends the following actions for restaurants, hotels. And we're gonna say nail salons and barbershops? What are we saying?
No, I was saying, instead of all street level commercial establishments, just put all commercial establishments affected by the COVID-19 crisis. If that's acceptable to everybody.
And David and Susan both have their hands up, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Who's first?
David?
David?
David, I think you might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I did it. I
There
wasn't
you
sure
go.
which way it was.
There you go, you're good.
Gets pretty wide open this way. Are these really, I forget the term for businesses that serve the public, as opposed to like my business shut down? Are we affected? We certainly don't have any sort of public facing component, sort of like no retail component. Is it retail or is it public services? What's the word, public accommodations or something like that? Lisa, I think you might want to help us out with this term, no? Anyway, just my 2 cents. Done.
Lisa, do you have any input?
I don't, sorry.
We say in my work.
Okay, Susan raised her hand.
Susan?
So unmute yourself, Susan.
Okay, is anyone taking minutes? No, but it's not, Eric is the one who's, so, you know, you guys got to get this together. I don't know, but someone has to send in minutes tomorrow morning.
Is that correct, Michelle?
So Michelle, what I need tomorrow morning, just to make it a little easier, is the changes in the resolution. You can send the other stuff in a little later, but if we could just have this resolution first thing, that would be helpful.
Megan, did you raised your hand. Did you have something else to add?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
David, was it public services that you were thinking of? Is that the word? Like, is it all commercial, all?
It would make sense to me. Maybe one of the other people with their hand up has an idea right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, hold on one. So I'm going to unmute everyone and let's give this a shot and see if it's chaos. Just that way we can actually have a discussion without having to keep up with who's unmuted and muted. So I'm going to unmute everyone right now. Okay.
I raised my hand.
Except Susan, maybe.
Alex, go ahead.
Well, I agree with.
That sounds good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree about the all commercial establishments affected by the COVID-19 virus. Can we put in, is this our resolution or did we get this resolution from somewhere else? Where we don't have like the liberty to amend it?
We got it from Tim Laughlin, but we do have the liberty to amend it.
Because they're not the same categories of things, right? I agree about the all commercial establishments affected by the COVID-19 virus. Agreed with Michelle, because we do have below ground businesses and second story businesses that are small businesses. Restaurants just seems to be one category of eating and drinking establishments, all of which seem to be affected. And hotels seem to include, and we could parse them out or deal with all of them together, but they seem to include the small independent hotels, but also the hotels that are supported by big conglomerates, right? So it's like vast categories of businesses. And maybe we should be saying all commercial establishments affected by the COVID-19 virus, which include eating and drinking establishments, hotels, and other service businesses, so that we're more inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, our like,
because I don't want to exclude other businesses. I do want to include, I see that the burden right now has been on the one serving patrons, right? But that's going to expand. It's going to become more and more businesses.
Yeah, and this is May. In Chinatown, it's commonly just referred to as small businesses because it is the smaller businesses that are the most vulnerable.
well, that's another question. Are you excluding?
But the small is not there. There's no people don't try to define like how small is small.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you want to exclude New York City relief for larger businesses.
Well, can we just maybe talk about our community district?
Yeah.
We don't have to speak for the entire city of New York.
Right, but we've got big hotel chains in our district.
Right, but they are, well, what do we think, is it important, what are we trying to do here? I mean, is it all businesses or is it the smaller independently owned ones?
I mean, yeah, my focus is obviously in the small independent businesses.
Right. So couldn't we focus our resolution on that? I'm sure others will have, other resolutions for those businesses.
Sure. I do think that, yeah, it's fine.
So the language, let's go back to the language that's on the resolution. So right now the language reads that therefore, the first therefore be it resolved, Community Board 3 recommends the following actions to provide immediate relief for all restaurants, hotels, and all commercial establishment affected by the COVID-19 virus. So we need to change that language, right? So what are we changing that language to?
So this is May. I'm suggesting to change all commercial establishments to small businesses.
So take that out altogether. Is that what you're suggesting, May?
Right, all small businesses.
And
But
so-
it's not all small businesses that are all small businesses affected by the COVID-19. Following actually provided. Maybe we should replace restaurant and hotels with just the word hospitality.
Does everyone agree to that?
I don't see the need to do that. What does that accomplish? That doesn't either keep it small.
I think it's more inclusive than-
Wait, let's try to speak one at a time. Okay, go ahead. Lisa, finish your thought.
Yeah, that seems, hospitality is a little amorphous for me. I think restaurants, hotels, and other small commercial establishments affected by the coronavirus would do it. And I do not think we should limit it to Community Board 3. I think one thing we've learned here is that we're all in this together. And that we can't just take one small neighborhood because the virus spreads.
So
And I think Alex had something to say.
Jackie and Trevor raised their hand. as
Oh,
well.
Jackie and Trevor, okay. So let's go Alex, Jackie, Trevor. Okay, Alex, go.
It's fine. I'm again, I just wasn't sure why we were separating out restaurants and hotels from other eating and drinking businesses, all of which are affected.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, in here is not bars or clubs, or music venues, or which I guess not eating, but they're drinking.
Okay.
All of
Jack-
which have
okay.
their place in our community and the community of New York.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Jackie? You raised his.
Jackie, you raised your hand. Where's Jackie? Jackie, are you there?
Hand's not raised.
I just lowered it. So
Trevor?
you had raised your hand. Do you still need to say something?
Yeah, and this is more for Clint and how we're running this, and I don't know if it's going to work, but I think it was yesterday's call. One of the ways that we were able to keep basically open mics was to have everyone press at the space bar, but I imagine that may not work on whatever device people are using, and that allowed for open discussion, but not the sort of people talking over each other, although we aren't really experiencing it right now. I'm just saying, is that an option?
It is. So right now, I unmuted everyone. If you're still muted, you have yourself muted. So
also is that we're getting feedback.
that's
in the office.
that's the other problem here in the office. We're all on 3 different headsets. Usually if we're in a group, we should probably be around one machine and one speaker. That's something we'll rectify going forward.
Right, and the reason why I was writing the spacebar option or another option is it's a small step to speak as opposed to clicking the other. But if this is working fine, I would just stay with this.
For the person that has the music playing in the background, we can hear it. Can you please lower it? Thank you.
So Michelle, you had your hand up. Is it from a previous comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that when we were talking about the public accommodations, that's the term for any business that serves the public that whose operations affect commerce. That could be a general term if we would want to use that. I know that there are other businesses that will be affected by this, but if we're concerned about like the mom and pop commerce shops, that might be the best term to use.
Okay, Linda?
Oh, that's okay. I just noted you need to change the word affected to affected.
I've got it.
Thank you.
Susan?
I don't know if we resolve this, but if we haven't, I mean, we don't have to enumerate every business. When we say small business, mention the ones you've mentioned and say all small businesses impacted by the coronavirus. I mean, I think we're kind of overthinking this a little bit.
Agreed.
Okay, so currently the language.
Jackie, you raised your hand again. Do you have something to say?
He has something in the comment box.
Okay, Jackie asked, he said, I have a comment about the first bullet. I wonder if we can ask the city to reactivate the fines forgiveness amnesty program.
What? Amnesty forgiveness program? Is that right?
That's what he's asking for. I don't know.
Does anyone know what that is? I'm sorry, Jackie, I'm not familiar with that.
I believe what he's asking is that the fine should just be forgiven. They shouldn't be required to basically suspend all fines, period, so that people just don't have to be concerned about it. I'd support that. I don't know the full ramifications. Over.
After COVID virus, under the therefore, the first therefore, am I correct?
Suspension of all fines and associated. Yeah. Oh, no, but
Indefinitely, like suspended indefinitely.
well, that's suspension. I think Jackie was asking for forgiveness or amnesty.
So change the word suspension to forgiveness? Is that correct, Jackie? What is he saying?
He's not typing anything. Jackie, are you typing something or speaking? Because we're not hearing anything you're saying. Okay, he's typing. Is that okay to change the word suspension to forgiveness, Jackie? He says we can add and consider reactivate the fine forgiveness amnesty program.
So add to suspension of all fines. Add the word forgiveness? That doesn't make any sense. Where are we putting that?
I think Jackie wants that added after the first bullet point under the therefore clause. David found something else that he pasted into the comments as well.
What did he say?
He found this online. He says, the Department of Finance
The Department of Finance will only resolve your violations through forgiving fines. The NYC amnesty program, if you pay for all your eligible violations that are in judgment on or before December 12th of 2016, to qualify for amnesty, a person or business named on a violation must pay and admit liability for all their eligible violations.
Any comments?
Yes.
Susan?
Unmute yourself, Susan.
Okay, can you hear me? If that, I don't know where, David, where did you find that rule? Where did you find that rule?
He says the name of the program is Forgiving Fines, the New York City Amnesty Program, online through Google.
Okay, so I think you can ignore anything like that. We are in a state of emergency. The governor is doing all these executive orders, and we are not going through previous rules and regulations. But just like, you know, the open meeting law has been modified.
What I was trying to point out was that the name of the program is called Forgiving Fines, the NYC Amnesty Program.
Okay.
And I would also like to say that we should ask them to modify if there should be no admission of liability.
Exactly.
You know, we ask them to reactivate the forgiving fines, full name of the program, and ensure that there is no admission of liability.
I don't know anything about the forgiving fines program, so I'm not really comfortable about putting it in the resolution. I'm happy enough just to keep it with suspending fines or forgiving fines instead of suspending fines. But I don't know enough about this particular program.
She's right. Let's just put the words forgiving fines as opposed to suspension of fines, forgiveness of all fines and associated payments for a period of 6 months.
And then regarding how we're going to describe the businesses, I agree with Susan. I think we're overthinking this a little bit. Can we just put all small commercial businesses affected by the COVID-19 crisis? And just like May said, we don't have to actually describe what's a small business. Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think it's up at the very first section. The first, therefore, recommends the following actions to provide immediate relief for all, and you were saying commercial businesses?
Well, yeah, so get rid of restaurants, hotels, yada, yada. Just say for all small commercial businesses affected by the COVID-19 crisis. Because, I mean, it could be
Right.
It could be a
Grocery
video
store.
game place,
A
you know,
bodega.
it could be an arcade. It could be, I don't know,
A bodega.
a bodega. Yeah, exactly. It's just, there's no point breaking down the,
And you wanted to take out the word small as well?
no.
Leave it, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there are small businesses that aren't commercial. That might be a little redundant, but
Yeah. I don't think it matters too much.
no. Doesn't.
Jackie agrees with 2 exclamation points.
I have a quick comment. Even though you muted people, if there's background noise, your microphone stays open. It looks like whoever has iPhone has a lot of background noise, and your mic stays open. Whenever we go silent, we can hear you. Carolyn.
So right now I actually unmuted everyone. So if you're muted, you muted yourself at the moment. I can remute everyone if we want, but.
No, I'm just saying that microphone stays completely open.
Yeah.
Like you were talking. So if people stop talking, you'll see it go to that particular person.
Yep.
So are we ready to vote on this resolution?
David, I can't unmute you. Do you have, okay. Now you're good. You just muted yourself again, David.
That's what I'm trying to do, Susan. Can we vote, please?
Of the joys of technology.
Okay.
Okay, are we all ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay. So who would like to make the motion to approve the resolution?
Megan.
Thank you, Lisa. Oh,
I second.
okay, Megan, second. All agreed?
Looks like everyone agreed.
Okay, nobody opposed, right? Okay, no
Okay,
abstentions.
Actually, May raised her hand.
May raised her hand. What's up, May?
May, did you have something to say?
I think she's just saying yes.
Yes, what's going on?
Oh, no. I think it's fine now. Clinton had muted all of us, so we
I
couldn't
actually
unmute.
unmuted everyone. So right now, I unmuted everyone. If you're muted, you muted yourself. In order to speak, if you hold down your space bar or unmute, because right now I have no control over anyone.
Okay, so. Uh-oh, what happened?
I don't know
What was that? Okay, at this moment, the motion was carried and we approved this resolution. Now can go before the full board. Thank you, everyone. Ooh, that was less, not that painful, right? Okay, Susan has a resolution to approve the block party for Harvey Epstein, Assembly Member Harvey Epstein, for his party for May 9th, East 7th Street, Avenue B and C. We have a resolution for that as well. Hold on, let me grab it.
Change the window at the bottom.
Oh, you don't have the resolution? Okay, so the resolution is to just approve Harvey's block party for May 9th on East 7th Street between Avenues B and C. Can I have a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question first? Why
ahead.
this is being heard?
Go
May
ahead,
I go- why is this being heard by the exec and
Because, can you hear me?
yes?
If we don't, we have to have a transportation committee just for this. It's emergency times. This is something that we're definitely going to support. There's nothing to find out about it. And I didn't want to have a meeting just for this. It seems under emergency times, it's a proper thing to do.
So we didn't know about it in time to put it on the agenda for the transportation committee or the.
No, it is. I'm just not going to have a transportation committee meeting just for this. I would have a
Susan,
whole
please try
virtual
not to
meeting.
get angry about this or express your frustration. I think
Well,
it's a valid question.
I really don't understand it. So it's under these, things have changed. This is a very simple thing that the Transportation Committee would certainly, approve. It's a block party, which is something we encourage. Harvey wants to open his new office and have a block party. I don't know if they will still have it under the conditions, but this will give them the option. But to have a whole meeting just for this, which requires, under the certain conditions, requires an awful lot of work, does not seem reasonable.
That's a very valid response. And all I was asking for was an explanation about why something so procedural would be heard by the executive. And I do feel like probably we should have a little longer discussion about how we're going to handle a lot of things if the situation is changed so drastically that we don't want to have committee meetings.
Well, I think we plan to do that later in this meeting.
So probably we should have waited to hear this until we had that discussion, is my opinion. So that we would have had some context for hearing it.
The floor is open for discussion.
If there's none, I guess we approve.
If there's no discussion, are we approving?
Is that how you take a vote?
No, I would like to have a motion to approve.
Well, if it's being discussed, it's already been moved, so that's kind of confusing. When it gets introduced, it should be moved at that moment.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and do it, but I'm just going to, as you know, point of order, object to the
way it's
procedure
presented.
of discussing and modifying, and then at the very moment of supposedly taking a vote, someone says, "Now, can we hear a motion?" Okay. I would consider this one moved and ready to vote for. And in the future, we should move before we discuss.
Before we discuss, okay.
Are we voting?
Yeah, we're voting. The floor is open for voting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone. Motion carried. All right, so board chairs report. Wow, it's really not a whole lot that I have to say, except for the fact that I'm grateful that you all were able to get online tonight. And I'm hoping that everyone is taking care of themselves and taking care not to panic. All of us are going through different things at different times. And know that we're going to get through this as long as we all do our part. Paying attention to the real news and not fake news, and not to get overwhelmed by all of it. I want to encourage all of you to check in on each other and on your neighbors. And there might be some people that are alone at this time and they need all of our support. So if you could just do your part as far as being a good neighbor and a good member of the community and looking out for one another. I encourage everyone in the public, if you're watching this, to please make sure you check our community board website, as there are going to be updates on meetings and times to log into our meetings as we go live, and we use the Zoom tool as much as possible. And if there's any other product that you have that will allow you to log into our account to see our meeting online, that would be great. And right now, I've asked Clint specifically to help us out. As you see tonight, we're getting his support. I've asked him also to continue to help us out. He's going to be the go-to person, and I will assign 2 other people to help him out so that he doesn't get overwhelmed. And so just be patient with us as we go through this new technology thing. It's all new to me. I've never used Zoom before. In fact, I've never really done a live meeting online before. So, and I know that this is all new to the office as well. So I'm so very grateful to Susan and the staff here, as they've been really like jumping in and getting support from the city of New York during this time. It is very difficult, as she's had to run out and go to Best Buy and go pick up products and things like that. And a lot of stuff is just being done just like boom at the split second. So I thank her. And that all being said, you know, we're going to have full board this way. And so we look forward to seeing what that all is going to look like. We have, Susan will discuss the other meetings that are going to take place during her report. I'll let her share with you how that's going to work, okay? So next we have, that's it for my report. First Vice Chair report, which Michael, I don't know if you're still there, Mike. Is Michael still there?
He's there, but Michael, I can't unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
I can't do it unless you do it, Clint.
You're unmuted now, but.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's some weird bug in the system. If I mute myself, I can't unmute it. You have to do it.
This is true, Clint.
Everyone is unmuted right now, but Joseph Kearns, Susan, and myself.
Clint, it's a bug or a feature. If we mute ourselves, we cannot unmute ourselves.
Same for me, and I can't keep it unmuted.
Problem. I know what you're saying, that we need to unmute, but we can't if we mute ourselves.
So
it seems it requires, yes, it seems that 2 actions are required. It seems that you must unmute us, followed by us unmuting ourselves.
I mean, the option to
sounds
allow
crazy, but we all keep seeing that happen.
The allow participants to unmute themselves is is on. It may be a glitch in it, but I'm not sure. Some people seem to have been able to unmute themselves though. I'm not sure why it's not consistent.
You can do that after you take that action where you say, I just unmuted everybody.
Everyone is on. I just did it again.
I know, no, I'm telling you, sometimes people can't unmute themselves. It happens after you unmute us, and it's a one-time thing, unfortunately. You're right, it is a glitch.
It's a glitch, and let's just move on. This is
Thank you, Michael. Go ahead, Michael. Do you have something to report?
Yeah. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
So as Alicia said, this is a new way of doing business, and Susan will talk a little bit more about it. But Alicia and I have been meeting a lot with Susan and talking a lot with Susan over this past week about how meetings are going to move forward and streamlining them so that we're not having unnecessary meetings and making people either suffer through unmuting themselves or possibly public. So I do have some actual work things to report to you guys. First, before the world ended, I went to a census meeting to represent us about what's going on with the census. A lot of what I learned there, I don't know what's happening now because a lot of their plans, like hosting parties where people can mass text people about the census and door knocking and standing out on the street, I doubt any of that is happening now with the census. But the census is out there. People have started receiving it already. I've already completed mine. Hopefully you've all completed yours. We will continue to promote the census on our social media so that public is aware of it. The last thing I want to say about the census is just a couple of things. There are some organizations in our district that receive grants from the census to do outreach. Those include Goals, University Settlement, and Grant Street Settlement. Henry Street also received a grant, and what they did with their grant was they actually created a interactive census map. It's NYC 2020 censusmap.hesterstreet.org. And you can basically go in there and drill down to any neighborhood to see, how many people filled it out last time and what the goal is for this time. The other thing I want to quickly share is what the goals are for certain neighborhoods in our district. So the census completion goal for Alphabet City is 2021. For Chinatown, 1,865. For the East Village, it's 3,283. And for the Lower East Side, it's 3,899. Those are their targets that they're hoping to meet this year with how many people are completing the census. Does anybody have any questions before I move on to the next topic?
Oh, this is May. There's also an interactive map, I think, that comes from the Census Bureau that's supposed to be some kind of real-time record of who has already answered the census online, which is a little bit different from Hester Street.
Yeah, that's great. May, if
you're trying to drill down to who hasn't already answered, then you go look at that map.
May, if you can send that link to me, that would be great, because that might be something that we can share through social media at some point.
Okay.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is the committee request form. So I sent this out about a week ago. These updates are mainly based off of you guys as chairs updating your committee descriptions. We, as you probably can see, did not include NYCHA or the Chinatown task force on this form because neither one of them really exists currently. So we don't want people to sign up for something that doesn't exist. So before, the other thing that Susan may or may not be talking about is that we don't know yet from the borough president what this whole COVID-19 thing means for new members coming on in April. We know that they halted all interviews. So we're probably not getting new members in April, but we don't know when we're going to be getting new members. But we want to get this committee form ready anyway. So I know, Lisa, you had emailed me privately that you had some suggested edits. Do you want to go over those?
If you don't mind, some of them you explained now. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wondered why those two subcommittees weren't on there. Maybe we should take them off the website because they're still up on the website.
Yeah, I think the plan is once we have this form completed, that it'll go to whoever updates our website, and they'll update the website.
Got it.
Putting the new descriptions up.
The other things were, and I, certainly leave this to the chairs, but I had some suggestions to the two committees I'm most familiar with, the Land Use Committee, of making the explanations a little bit more comprehensive. And so my suggestion was for the Land Use Committee that it say, this committee reviews and provides recommendations on land use and development proposals in accordance with New York City's charter requirements, including ULURP. ULURP actions, not ULURP projects that propose zoning. I'm taking that out. So I'm recommending we take that out. It just says ULURP actions, comma, and then the rest of that sentence stays the same. And then the committee also plays an important role in affordable housing and tenant protections, reviewing, comma, providing recommendations on applications for certain affordable housing projects, and considering matters related to rent regulations and code enforcement. That's new. That wasn't in there. But I think that's an important part of what we do. And then the rest remains the same. I would have sent it to everybody, but it was a blind email that went out, so sorry. So I couldn't, everybody wasn't on it. And then on the Liquor Authority, my suggestion.
Lisa?
Yes?
Why don't we do one at a time? So why don't we,
Okay.
Mackie, do you have any comments about the proposed changes that Lisa is suggesting?
So I don't have the problem with the first suggestions to change ULURP projects to ULURP actions, but the second part I did not get it. Lisa, can you say again for the second part?
Sure. When it lists that the committee also plays an important role in affordable housing and tenant protections, reviewing and providing recommendations on applications for certain affordable housing projects. And this is the new part. And considering matters related to rent regulations and code enforcement.
What kind of code enforcement?
We've often taken strong stands about the building department and their, how should I say, sometimes not as comprehensive efforts to enforce the building and building code particularly. Also the housing code at times.
You can unmute yourself, I think, if you want to try it. If you want to try it, I can unmute you. There, see.
I would just be a little bit more clear about what, like in that sentence, I would say then maybe like DOB code enforcement.
Oh, I don't want to restrict it to DOB. It's also housing code.
Okay.
Oh, that could be HPD as well. Is that what you are implying?
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Well, those are, I mean, it's just a description of the committee. It's not like you can't talk about something because it's not in this, right? Yeah.
Right. But my sense is that's an important part of our role. I always thought it was, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's not critical.
No, I mean, I don't have problem with it personally. It's just that I can remember we did a lot of building code enforcement in the past. I mean, you've been around longer than I do, so I just don't recall when was the last time we talked about building code enforcement. I mean, in the district list statement, we do have something like that. So I mean, I personally don't have problem with the language.
This is May. I thought that the committee descriptions were to be discussed by each committee, either or the chair decides. But
She didn't raise her
exec
hand, did she? I didn't see.
I mean, everyone's unmuted now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's chaos.
Clint, stop talking. Go ahead, May.
I thought that the committee descriptions were to be decided by each chair, and they can decide in consultation with their committee if they wish, but each description is not being decided by the entire executive committee. Because each committee knows their own work best.
True, yeah, I reached out to the chairs first. Some chairs did exactly what you said, May. They worked with their committees and they developed a new description. Some chairs just did it themselves, and other chairs felt their committee didn't need an update at all as far as the description was concerned. So, after consulting with Susan, she thought it would be a good idea to bring all the descriptions to the executive committee for discussion before we just started using the new description.
Okay.
So I don't think, we're not necessarily taking a vote on these. We're just sort of discussing them, sort of similar to some of the other materials that I've been creating and updating the board.
Susan.
Okay, so we've always just, the chairs have done it. We've just brought the final thing to the exec. We don't vote on it or approve it. I had told Michael that, I don't know why I'm getting this feedback now. I had said that I was going to look through for edits also, but I certainly haven't had time. What I want to suggest is, like Lisa, the reason we send it out blind is so that it doesn't go back out to everybody and people start discussing it, because people are very tempted to do that. If you could always just send your edits to one person, and then that could be distributed blindly for everyone to look over, or we could combine different edits into one page like we did with the bylaws. I think that's probably similar. But anyway, we're not going to be using the committee request forms for the following month. So if we, still want to look at them for edits, there's plenty of time. And as far as taking committees off the website, we can't get rid of committees without a vote. They're sort of deactivated. We've done this before where the committee request form is to invite people to join. And if you're not inviting people to join, they're not on, because it's already closed or whatever, they're not on the form. But I mean, we could take them off the website without voting them out. But I don't know how people are going to keep track of what we voted on or haven't voted on if we take them off the website.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Michael, I wanted to say, because I know that we have one of the subcommittees currently, we don't have a chair for that subcommittee. And so because NYCHA and Section 8, they don't always meet on a regular basis, I've just made a decision that we will meet with the NYCHA Section 8 subcommittee as needed. And right now, we don't really have anything on an agenda for them. And so that being said, I don't want to take them off the website just yet. I want to just make sure that, if anything does come available, then we'll operate as needed in the meantime. What does everyone think about that?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So moving on then, Lisa, do you want to bring up the other description that you had?
I don't know if we're going to say that we're going to take more time. I just sent my suggested edit to the SLA committee chair official email. So Alex should get it in the mail, in the email. And if she wants to consider it, she can. If she doesn't, that's fine too.
Okay. So Alex, after you review that, if you can just let me know either way, yay or nay, what your decision is to make any updates.
Sure, I'll try to look tomorrow. Thanks, Lisa.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or suggestions about the committee descriptions? All right, so the other document I have, we will cover during the social media update, because that's what it's related to. So other than profusely thanking Clint for helping us out tonight, my report is done.
Slowly but surely.
Great, thank you. Second Vice Chair's report?
I have nothing more to report, just my putting my nose in where it doesn't belong in the previous item, I guess.
Thank you, Lisa. Treasurer's report, we're gonna leave that with the district manager's report because I don't see Herman on here at all. Is Herman on here?
No.
Okay, so Susan?
Okay, first of all, just to tell you, Herman walked in the office. He didn't know we weren't having it, and I told him the office was closed. I would beg people to watch the website. We have to communicate through the website. I want to make sure everybody knows about the public officer law that I referred to earlier. You know, when the governor declared a state of emergency, it allowed him to make executive order changes, which he did into the open meeting law, which is why we're having these online meetings. We do have to have it available to the public, but there are limitations. It's not quite as strong as before, but we're certainly trying to be as transparent and inclusive as always. I think it's going to take a month to kind of figure this stuff out, and it will be better next month and more transparent and more inclusive next month. So I just want to say this has been, I know everyone realizes it's difficult, but this has been incredibly difficult because I never heard of Zoom before this week. And yet I was having to find out information and different packages and buy the packages, and I had no idea what I was doing. We got no resources from anywhere. Actually, Board 2 and 7 were very, very helpful to me, and Clint's been a lifesaver. But it's been really, I can't tell you how difficult it is. I'm begging people to please look at the big picture and not get distracted by small things, particularly for the next month. See. I'm also trying to think of ways, and I would like to ask all the chairs to do this, to think about ways to disseminate information without meetings. For example, I spoke to DOT today, and they didn't need any resolutions or anything from us, but they have some updates. So I think what I can do maybe is make like committee folders on the website and put updates or PowerPoints in there so people can see these things without actually going to a meeting. They're not things that they're looking for input in. Clearly, anything they need input or resolution, we have to have a meeting. I have closed the office. I have a sign outside that says the office is closed. I don't want anyone in here for health reasons. That's not necessary to be in here. Just generally just packages. We had a mailbox put on outside so that people could, if we're not here, if the office is totally closed, they could use the mailbox also for stipulations. They can use the mailbox. Deidre is working from home. Jim is working from home. It's probably going to be 4 days a week. Ed and I have been in every day. I'm hoping we can get to a point where we're not in here all day, every day. But that's the way it's been so far. As far as the new members, all interviews have been canceled. I think the borough president is going forward on appointing new members, but I'd like to remind everyone that we haven't had new members in April for I don't know how many years. And, you know, they're certainly dealing with a lot of other stuff right now. So I can't imagine there's any chance at all of that happening this month. I've been talking to the chairs individually about what's necessary, what's not necessary, trying to get agencies. Some of the agencies, it's impossible, even though people are working from home. So we are not having a human services or economic development meeting this month. We're not having a transportation committee meeting this month. We are having an SLA, we are having a parks and executive committee and full board. I think that's all I'm prepared for right now. It feels like I should have had much more, but it's just because I've been busy. We actually had to go out and make disinfectant and disinfect the office, which I do every time someone comes in. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's just, you know, my feeling is to get through the next month, and we'll see where we are, and we'll certainly be in better shape as far as knowing what we're doing.
Thank you, Susan.
We go back to Michael for the attendance as the next item on the agenda.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, sure. Go ahead, Michael.
So, Susan, I know that we're all sort of learning this new system and whatnot, and I'm not sure if it needs to be discussed with this whole group, or if you, me, and Alicia, and maybe Clint should have a conversation about the full board meeting on Tuesday, and how are we managing that as far as public session and as far as representatives from electeds.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, please do.
I would suggest that we do what Community Board 2 did this month, and they're saying they're not having a public session. What they are doing is they're telling anybody that has comments to send them to the office by 5 o'clock that day, and they will be summarized by the chair instead of public session. I have been contacted by one elected official who is willing to either give a report or a PDF. You might want to decide which you prefer, whether you want to ask them to give PDFs, do you want to ask them to give reports?
I mean, I've been watching CB2's meeting on the other half of my screen while our meeting is going on, and they had Brad Hoylman talking for a while. So, I mean, I guess it probably couldn't hurt to have the electeds themselves or a representative talk if they wanted to. You know, it's just, we have to invite everyone to the same meeting. So, and they have to understand that that's the way that we're doing it.
One nice thing about online meetings is that whoever controls the mute button can time it very precisely.
Very true.
So I'm hearing that you want to, I should contact the elected officials and say you're welcome to join the meeting to speak.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. I'll try and get it done tomorrow.
Okay.
Tell them about the time limit.
Okay.
Will there be opportunities for questions?
Well, I think we'll run it similar to how we are running this, where, you know, we'll have people raise hands if they have questions after an elected's comments, and then
We're gonna have to limit that. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to limit how many questions they're answering.
And with 50 people, it's not going to be possible, since this really is a public meeting with a lot more than 50. You know, we'll have public people. You can't do a blanket on whatever unmute. We might want to do a small experiment.
Linda,
Yep. I'm going to stop talking now.
Linda, we acknowledge you.
Oh, thank you. Maybe Clint, maybe you know the answer to this. I understand that with some versions of Zoom, it is possible to distinguish between the members and the public. The members
Yes.
being allowed to participate and vote and all of that, the public just listening in.
So, hold on 1 second. I'm going to stop this echo. So they did mention that on the call earlier yesterday.
Yeah.
Personally, I haven't had experience with that. We can figure that out. We're going to have a call again tomorrow with them. If they have more information, we can,
They're not going to go into that tomorrow. I have
It's
asked.
probably in the settings when you start the meeting, who's who.
Well, I think part of what it is, it's a higher level paid version of Zoom, which I don't think we subscribe to. When they mentioned on the call yesterday, they mentioned it that the other guy from Gail's office sent over the sign-in information for them to use his account because his had that feature. That may be something we will need to discuss, and we can go with a higher version, but right now I don't know if this basic version we have allows that.
No, I'm sure it does not. Okay.
If I could
thought you might have the higher level.
If I could mention what the plans are, we actually asked the borough president to intervene as far as us all paying individually. And it looks like they're going to buy a borough-wide version and a license that we can all use. What we bought was for 1 month because we knew that we might want to make changes. So after the 1 month, we can either make changes or we may be transitioning to something the borough president is buying instead.
Yeah, that would be good because I think particularly for the full board meetings, not being able to control that is going to be kind of a mess.
Okay. So now we're going to go back to Michael with the attendance and the review.
I don't have attendance anymore.
Trevor, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just in the event that we don't get a license, but whoever, we could all be muted and then someone can just unmute the 50 board members.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The spacebar idea is tempting if that truly works, so that each of us could be, but
it
that
seems
was
to be working
experiment.
now. If you mute yourself, try it. Try muting and see if you can unmute.
And now I'm pressing my spacebar.
And you're talking.
Okay, you hear me now? And
Yes.
let me unmute. Let me lift my finger.
No.
Perfect.
Okay, if you did not hear me a moment ago, then that's great.
Your
So
test
that
is a
works.
success.
That works. So somehow, if you could figure out who the 50 members are and do what you've done, okay, I'm over.
Michael.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you want me to talk about because I don't do attendance anymore.
Oh, it's back to Lisa.
Right, and I haven't done anything. I haven't, is there anything to do until the 6-month period is?
So we need to talk about how to deal with the attendance during the virtual meetings. Yeah, we have.
I can't hear her, Susan.
Susan, you're muted.
The reason I put the review on there is because it's coming up. The review is through March. So after the full board meeting next week, we should be sending you the attendance for the last 6 months.
Okay.
And then get a report on that the following, in April exactly.
Okay, and after I review that, I'll sit down with Michael. If you don't mind, Michael, to.
Of course. Yeah. Once you get it, just shoot me an email, and we can either set up something like this and share our screen and go over it together, or we can just talk on the phone, whatever is easier for you.
Great, thank you.
But to Alicia, I guess to your point about attendance during, oh my God, excuse me, attendance during this, I thought we had discussed already that, you know, there was at least 1 or 2 members who had doctor's notes relevant to needing to be quarantined for missing their meetings. So
Correct.
we developed a special attendance code for that.
Yeah, we did. And so we need to share that with the exec.
Susan,
So what we proposed is for people to have an excused absence. It's a V, right? Susan, am I correct?
Yes. It's not an excused absence, it's a virus absence, just to be clear. So anyone that has a note that they have to be quarantined or whatever, and some people that are quarantined clearly, like Michael, can be on, and some people like Paul, who's quarantined, is just, you know, he told us he was just too sick to be on.
So what does everyone think about that? Anyone have any comment or question?
What would be the effect fee? We put down a V and then.
So it would not count against them. It would not count against them in any way.
Except for the bylaws do not allow for that.
Well,
these are times that we have
it's
to
an
do
emergency.
an emergency type of thing.
You know, this goes under the governor's emergency order.
Yeah, David, it really isn't. We're operating, and this time right now that we're dealing with this, it's like we're kind of trying to figure out something that will work and not be against anyone, you know, because some people are having to self-quarantine, and then some people have been told to not go around anyone. So we need to, you know, honor that without penalizing them.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
and
and
let's
some
move
people
on.
won't be able to produce a doctor's note. I mean, I can't even get a doctor's appointment, to be honest with you guys. So, I mean, I don't know. There might come a time, I mean, I'm still at work and I'm working with a population that gets to come in and out of a building every day. So, might come to a point where I have to self-quarantine. I don't know. All right, so does anyone else have any comment? Okay. All right, everyone. So now we're going to go over the general policy for April. Committee meetings and agendas only having necessary items. I think Susan already covered that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to revisit that. So now we're going to go on to the social media items. Michael?
Sorry. All right, so sent you all last week was a track changed version of our social media policy. So I won't read the whole thing because it's almost 3 pages long, but hopefully you have had time to look at it, and I'm wondering if there's any suggestions or comments about it.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see.
Susan, does this need to be voted on? It's not
It
part
does, because we voted on it as a policy. It's actually on our website. I'm sorry. So, yes, we do the vote.
Okay. So if you didn't understand, Susan, with all that feedback, we need to vote on this.
Okay.
No.
Susan?
All right. I got muted by accident somehow. So there doesn't seem to be any comments. So I would like to make a motion to pass this new social media policy.
Second.
Do you want to pull it up?
I'm sorry.
There's a motion on the floor and it was seconded.
But you need a real motion.
Oh.
What was that?
What does that
You
mean, a real motion?
You need a motion that's a little bit more descriptive to say you're, you know, amending the social media policy as, I don't know, I guess you want to say it's shown in track changes. I don't know if you want to give any reason or not.
I mean, I guess I would say that I'm making
To
a motion.
update, just say to update the policy to read as follows, and then the new policy.
Okay, so that should be one of the resolutions sent to
I
us
would
in the morning.
Okay.
Are
So
we voting now?
can we vote on this now? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Woo!
Motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll go.
Michael, would you resend the track changes?
Yes, I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move into our committee reports. SLA.
There were 2 meetings. There are a number of votes, but nothing unusual.
Thank you, Alex. Transportation. You didn't meet, right?
Actually was not there. It was perhaps Michelle might report if there was something controversial. I mean, I know that they talked a lot, I'm sure, about the Grand Street congestion, but I don't believe there were any motions, but I'm not sure.
There were no motions on the update about the traffic situation, but we just encourage them to think about the problem holistically and not call it like the Grand Street, Clinton Street issue anymore, so that more folks feel like it's something that they should attend. Because I think Trevor was the one who pointed this out, that we shouldn't, make it seem like it's only about that one intersection. But there was nothing to vote on around it. And they said that they'll be back, at some point. They didn't give us an exact date.
Could I just mention the vote sheet is on the website, and I also sent it to everybody in the secretary.
I don't know what's going on over there, but it sounds like you're being murdered. Susan, are you there? Can you repeat what you said?
You, Susan.
In relation to her computer, because it sounds like she's in a tunnel.
Okay. What I said was the vote sheet is on the website, so everybody can see it.
You can't understand her.
Can't understand a word you are saying.
Maybe if Alicia takes her headphones off again.
I don't know why. Okay, I guess we can't all be on at the same time. What I said is the vote sheet is on the website. If any, so you could see what the resolutions were. I also sent it to everybody on the exec for review. So hopefully if there were any problems, you would have sent it back.
Okay. Okay, economic development.
Nothing to report. We're supposed to use this meeting as an outreach meeting, and it's just not going to happen. We're going to suspend our discussions on the special district for the time being. It also just makes us rethink putting stricter regulations on small businesses right now, but that's, in any case, we're just going to put a pause on it for the time being.
Thank you. Health and Human Services, May?
I have nothing particular to report. We were planning a panel in May, and I can tell you we are not going to have it.
Okay, May. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Jackie?
We didn't meet in March, so I have nothing in particular to report. But for the two bridges presentation that we planned for March, of course, we have to postpone it, and I don't know if that's going to happen in May. Hopefully, that would happen. That's all I have.
Landmarks. Linda.
We did not meet.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, parks.
We were supposed to meet, but a lot of the members did not feel comfortable going, so we did cancel it. We did have one resolution that we were not able to vote on. I know that me and Susan and the office tried to get Parks to give the presentation at this committee. And Susan can update me on Parks' response because it did not happen. So that was for the Tompkins Square Fieldhouse reconstruction. So we will not be able to give comments to Parks on that. I believe it goes to the Design Commission tomorrow. But sometimes things like that happen. I anticipate that we're going to be meeting not only next month, but every single month because there's just so many things going on. And we've already got one resolution for next month having to do with the Two Bridges Coastal Resiliency Plan that we need to vote on. So I anticipate we're going to be busy for all the months throughout this pandemic.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, thank you, Trevor. Okay, guys, if that's all, any old business? Any new business? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Susan and Clint and Alicia, for working this out.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Clint.
Some road bumps, the speed bumps, but we'll get it worked out.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll see
you.
you
Pretty
all
well.
on Tuesday night. Be well, everyone. Please take care of
Clint.
yourselves.
Yep.
So
Night.
before you go off, Clint, let's do a couple experiments, maybe a
Sure.
few of us, where you go ahead and mute everybody,
Okay.
and then yeah, as if it was like we're going to mute the whole
Yep.
meeting. Okay.
Okay, so I'm doing that now. I'm going to mute everyone now. Okay.
And I can press the space key, and you're
And
hearing me. Okay. So that we
Yes.
can each elect to go in. But now something changed about this a minute ago. I mean, during the meeting.
So
Whereas
I think the one thing that changed, the option was off. So the option was on to allow participants to unmute themselves. I clicked it off and clicked it back on, and it seemed like that kicked it back in. So I don't know if it was just a glitch, but when we were talking about, I started flipping around the settings, and when I turned it off and turned it back on, that's when it seemed like people could start doing it again. So I don't know if it was just a glitch.
That's fine for a small meeting, but now if it's the full board meeting, does this mean everybody will be able to unmute themselves?
Well, but I can turn it back. I can turn it off. So let's try let's try another test. So I'm going to mute everyone. I'm going to turn off that feature, and let's see if you can talk.
Oh, I am able to.
Hold on
I'm
one
using this-
second. 1 second.
I can speak.
Now try it. Now try it. Nope.
No, can't hear anyone.
Okay. Okay, so now that seemed to work. There's
mute spacebar seems to be working.
Yeah, so I think for some reason at the beginning of the meeting, that setting was just, even though it was turned on, it wasn't working. When I turned it off and turned it back on, it seemed to jumpstart it.
It's not a perfect system.
No, it's back on.
But I was wondering if there's a way, if you could set it where everyone is muted again, and try to unmute just Alex and me are the first two people I see.
Okay.
So we'll let Alex and me try to use the space bar, and if we're able to, then we'll let Michael try to obstruct us.
So right now I'm going to mute everyone. Okay.
I can unmute. Did you do
Yes.
something special for me?
No, right now it's still set to allow participants to unmute.
So go back to the thing where nobody will be allowed to unmute, and then unmute just me and Alex. Okay, I got the little pop-up that said that it tried to unmute me, and my spacebar is working.
So because I unmuted you specifically, now if you mute yourself,
Can you hear me? Because
I
I
can
also
hear
got
you.
the little pop-up.
Yes. But David, can you unmute yourself? Okay, so I think what happens if if the setting is turned off to allow participants to unmute themselves, if I unmute you, you talk, and then mute you again, or you mute yourself, you can't unmute yourself. So if that
my
option is on,
my space bar did work once. Oh, and
previously before I turned that setting on. So right now it allows the participants, but if I
let's try it again. Let's try it again. And I was able to use the space bar exactly once, I believe, after you
So
set
right
this up.
now the setting is still on to allow participants to unmute. So right now I'm going to mute everyone, and you should be able to unmute yourselves again. Okay.
Hello.
We can't.
Yes, you're talking. I can hear you.
I'm wondering if you can set it.
Mute yourself and see if you can unmute yourself. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to change that setting. So now you can't unmute yourself. I'm going to mute everyone and see. So now no one should be able to unmute themselves.
It just unmuted.
Yep. So now you're on. I just unmuted everyone again. So with that setting off, so I think for some reason it wasn't working at the beginning of the meeting, but now it seems to be working.
But this also enables you to limit the speakers.
Yes.
I think it does. How?
Good.
If I turn it off, no one can unmute themselves unless I unmute them.
Right, but I'm wondering if we can set it up where you unmute a few of us, and then we can use the